So, two of my favorite things to do in the pre-production process as a director is shot list and really just break down the script and prepare to actually direct the actors. And in order to do those things properly and be successful in them, I actually have to answer a very important question before even starting that process, which is, what is this film about? No, not what is the plot or the narrative beats. I'm talking, what is the spine of the film? What's the theme? What is it about at its core, underneath all of the plot and the narrative? And for the way that I take, for me, after a lot of thought, I really felt like it's an exploration of failure and how we respond to failure and the lengths that we'll go to run from it, to conceal it, and sometimes to punish ourselves for it. And that now will ultimately define and determine how I choose to lens the film, how I choose to ask my cinematographer to light it, how I ask my performers to deliver certain lines, etc. So once I've done that, then it's time to shot list and to break down the script. And one of the first things I want to do when breaking down the script is actually determine all of the beats. And what a beat is basically any time that there's a change of something. It could be an emotional change, it could be a physical change, it could be someone standing up from a chair, it could be someone going from happy to sad, it could be someone going from talking to one character to talking to another. Because ultimately identifying those beats will help me to determine where sometimes a pause is needed, where sometimes a close-up is needed, where sometimes a pushing is needed. And I basically will just go through my script and mark, either writing beat in there or just underlining in red all of those specific beats. From there, it's then time to identify the overall objectives of all of the characters. In this scene, not only what do the characters want, but what do they want from each other? Because if one of the characters only wants to leave, to run away, to get out of the scene, and doesn't want anything from the other actors in the scene, then ultimately that will make a very kind of boring scene to watch, as one person just tries to squirm out of something, and one person just tries to pursue them. But if they're both trying to get something from each other, that's where drama takes place. That's where conflict takes place. That's where the interest arises. So with these objectives, and I have kind of three main characters in the scene, Patrick, Sam, and Anne, what do they each want from each other? So once I figured out the objectives, what are their tactics? And tactics so often switch. They try one angle, and then they try another, and then they try another. And identifying all of these different tactic switches throughout the script. But it's not just about defining specifically, especially during this pre-production process. This is the only way that they're gonna, like this, like for instance, if the line is, this isn't a line in the script, but if the line is, I love you, and I've determined that the tactic there is to ingratiate, it's not just about determining that one specific tactic. It could also be, I love you could also be a way to belittle or a way to guilt them. And coming up with a number of different ways that line can be read and that the tactic can be communicated is so important during this pre-production process. Because if I've only have one rigid way that I'm determined this has to be read and has to be delivered, and an actor comes to me with a different idea and perhaps a better idea, I as a director am not serving them very well if I just bully them, or not bully, but even just push them to that one specific version, because maybe I'm losing some really fantastic option that I wouldn't otherwise be able to consider. So ultimately, exploring a number of different angles during this time is really what it's about, and that's why it's so fun for me, because right now there isn't any right or wrong answer. It's about just exploring, tilling the ground, and ultimately doing a lot of preparation to allow for those happy accidents to take place. And in addition to breaking down the screenplay, I'm obviously also shot listing, which basically means, do I need a wide shot? Do I need a close-up here? Do I need one long take? Do I need a bunch of little tiny insert shots to piece this scene together? And making all those judgment calls is also something else that I'm doing right now. And again, even there, considering a number of different options. Yes, maybe my first instinct is to shoot these 3 pages with one amazing master shot that, ducks and weaves around the scene as the actors move around it as well. But maybe when I get into the space, I realize that that's just a physical impossibility, or it's just really not working energy-wise. And having a couple of different thoughts in my mind, again, tilling the soil, is incredibly helpful in the process to make sure I'm successful on set.